Welcome back to the Sully Scoop, where three lifelong Husker bros dive in depth on all surrounding the new era of Husker football, where our cups never run dry of the Roulade under head coach Matt Rule. Made by fans for fans with JSul, BSul, and TSul. Well, we are back, and guess what? The Huskers are back also. This is the same old Huskers teams we've seen before, and the Sully Scoop's about to break it down. And join us this week is Husker Chazzy. Welcome back, Chazzy.
Yeah, as always, thanks for having me on, fellas.
Yep, glad you can make it. We're gonna try to keep the vibes up here, but losing a game to Illinois can never get you hyped. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, losing a game to Illinois, JSul, is definitely not something anybody here on the panel was expecting. Oh, wait, except for you.
Let me tell you something.
Mr. Glass half empty and Mr. Negative Pants, Negative Nancy over there, picked a loss in the preseason picks and has been the most negative person since this loss, saying that the Huskers aren't back. Dude, you picked this loss. You were expecting this. Why are you being the most negative person here?
And also, I would like to point out, I said if JSul was correct and the Huskers go 6-6, like he picked at the beginning of the season, if that happens, he would be happy about it. And he sat there and said, I would be very happy 6-6 for a bowl game. And here we are with 3-1. We're still way above 6-6, and he's pissed off about it.
Well, let me tell you something. This is an Illinois team that the Huskers beat last year. Yes, we got a freshman quarterback, but this is showing digression. This is a Husker team that got more coming in than Illinois. Did I pick it as a loss at the beginning of the year? Yes, because I thought it was going to come down to a freshman quarterback against, a Big Ten defense, which he hasn't seen at this point in the season.
Is that what it came down to that? Yeah,
that is
it did
false.
come down to that.
That is false. It came down to
Are you kidding me? The
last defense. Undisciplined on the defense.
The three last drives were a freshman quarterback.
I thought this was a top 10 defense. They just got boat raped across the entire field. I was unbelievably astounded by this game because Illinois ran it down their throats, and we made Altmaier. Who the heck is Altmaier? We made him look like he's going for the Heisman this year. He's the player of the week for the Big Ten with how he did against this Huskers defense. I mean, we had 3 third down and longs on the same drive that they completed a pass over the middle wide open to get a first down. That is just atrocious. And then you're going into the fourth quarter talking about the last drive that Illinois had in the regular time. Would have looked better for the Huskers if Illinois would have went down and kicked a field goal and won 27-24 there. Just saying. But going to overtime, the Huskers looked atrocious. But in the regular season, they leave it to Altmaier to throw a pass on 3rd and long. If they would have just ran the ball one more time, they would have picked up that first down with how our defense was handling the run there from their backs of Illinois, and they would have been able to kick a field goal and run the clock out. It was atrocious. Illinois was out there, and they were averaging 4.4 yards per rush, while the Huskers are averaging 1.6. This is Big Ten football, and the Huskers are supposed to be a run-first team. This is atrocious. The Huskers aren't back. Matt Rule needs to be on the chopping block if this continues.
Yeah, JSul, thank you for finally taking a breath here, because I just got to tell you a couple things. It did come down to a freshman quarterback making mistakes against a Big Ten defense. The last 3 drives of Nebraska, including the overtime drive, were the worst drives I've ever seen in a Nebraska football game ever. That's including the Jeff throws a pick Sims last year.
Not true.
Oh my,
no
absolutely.
way. Jeff Sims couldn't even get 1 yard positive. We couldn't even punt when Jeff Sims was out there because he fumbled it.
That's my point. Jeff Sims would come out.
How was that worse than what Jeff Sims did?
Because Jeff Sims would just throw a pick and you didn't have to sit through an entire drive.
We at least punted. We punted the football.
You sat through 3 drives there that were just atrocious in a row. You knew you were going to lose after missing the field goal. I said it. I know all of you thought it. And T, you told me at the game that half the stadium walked out after the missed field goal because they've seen the same story again. The issue here was the offensive line. They have been atrocious for years. Everybody thought, hey, these guys have played together a long time. They're going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. They're going to grow. 5 sacks against Illinois is just effing ridiculous.
So, JSul, now that both of you guys are done with this rant that you just went on about former
They've been
quarterbacks
holding
that
it
we
in.
don't speak of because they suck. And yes, I will say that I did pick highly of Jeff Sims. It did not pan out. That's all I'm saying. So, if you are blaming the defense, as you stated, I got a proposition for you. Let's say with 40 seconds to go, we do score that touchdown. And he doesn't overthrow a fullback, which I'm not even going to go why our fullback's running a route. But
fourth string tight end.
If
Matt.
he does, close enough, he might as well be a fullback. Either way, 4th-string tight end shouldn't be in the game. Let's just start there.
Absolutely.
If we score that touchdown, do you have faith in that defense with less than a minute to stop Illinois from scoring a touchdown?
No.
At that point, what I watched in the second half, absolutely not. That team was moving the ball down the field at ease. This defense was atrocious because they were on the field the entire second half because the offense couldn't do anything, which comes down to the offensive line. Now, why am I getting on the
That
defense?
ain't it.
Because this
That ain't it.
defense. What do you mean it's not
Time
on
of
the
possession
offensive line?
is not it. Time of possession is not it.
The Huskers
What happened out
dominated the
there
first half,
is
and
our
then the second
defense
half,
was-
they got dominated in time of possession, which got our
that's not
defense
what happened.
tired, and it comes down to the offensive line
Well,
No.
not being able to get a push.
You're
and be
not
able
giving
to
them
drive
that
it
cop-out.
and be able to get them off the back and get the
Now,
running backs moving downhill because
defense-
they had 1.6
JSul.
yards per carry, 1.6 yards, and then you're looking at our defense. Guess what? This is supposed to be a top 10 defense. Well, this wasn't a top 10 offense. This defense should have been able to shut down an Illinois-style offense easy. We know what they're going to do. They're going to run first. Guess what? They were able to pass it with a
JSul.
4th-string quarterback. I would take Jeff Sims over Luke Altmaier any day of the week.
You're a moron.
Hey,
Yeah,
JSul,
you're an idiot.
you didn't watch the last game with us, I don't believe. I don't think you were there. But Northern Iowa's offensive line did the same thing to our defense. So to sit here and say, oh, I'm surprised Illinois, who has a much better O-line than Northern Iowa, ran it down our throats. Who told you that this was going to be our first test? You're right. This guy, Chazzy, said last week watching our run defense against Northern Iowa, who's decent in their conference, I'll say, or FCS, whatever you want to call it, at running the football, they knew they weren't going to win that game. So you know what? They just exposed our defense of we're just going to continue to run the football and get as many yards as we can to at least show some respect to our own team. That's what they
And
did.
Chazzy,
So to sit here
are
and
you
think
saying
Illinois and Bielema was like, oh, this is some great film to watch. We know exactly what to do against Nebraska. Let's try to keep their offense off the field, which is what they did in the second half. So I would agree with JSul there. Time of possession totally flipped back to Illinois in the second half. But we still had our chances to score, and we did not execute.
Well, Chazzy, are you agreeing with JSul then? Are you saying our defense only gave this up because they were out there tired?
No, I don't think that's the only reason.
I'm saying
I
I'm not
think
giving them the
Illinois-
cop out of being tired. Tired is
I
not
mean-
an excuse. They got manhandled the entire game.
So-
The first quarter, it's not like they shut them down. The first drive, Illinois goes right freaking down the field. So to give them the cop out that they were tired, I don't buy it. Because like you just said, Northern Iowa did it to them last week. So guess what? We're playing Big Ten football here. This is what Big Ten teams do. We're in deep trouble unless we figure this out.
I'm hoping that Illinois did what they've done to us a lot of times, and I know it irritates every single one of us sitting here, except maybe JSul this year because he actually picked this correctly, which is crazy. But Illinois has punched us in the mouth majority of the years in the last, I'll say, handful that we've been here. So for us to sit here and go, we played 3 low-life teams with the front 7, and then we're going to finally face a team. It was a wake-up call, and they weren't ready for it. And I'm hoping we can get back on track this week. But it definitely was a Big Ten wake-up call.
Well, let me tell
Chazzy,
you one
I'm
thing
just
that's
saying.
good. We're coming out of this game with one thing that was good because at the end of last season, we were sweating. Guess what? Tony White's got no offers after this game. If I'm any other program and I watch what Illinois did to this Nebraska top 10 defense, yeah, he ain't getting any offers.
Well, Jason,
So-
if you remember, Michigan State did the same thing to us last year. So it's not like this defense was
But
impenetrable or whatever.
I think the
you wanna
one thing
call
you're
it.
also not bringing into account, even with the top 10, top 10 defense, everybody plays a bad game, whether you're Georgia, whether you're K-State, whether you're Alabama. Maybe this was just our bad game. And I think it is because we didn't play anybody until week 4.
Chazzy, that's even if you're saying that Illinois is somebody, because at the end of the day,
until they prove me otherwise, right now they look like the best team we played all season.
oh, they're going to prove you otherwise. It's going to happen fast. I'm telling Scoopers here,
not
listen.
That I trust them to beat Penn State this week, because I already told you guys they're going to get their asses whooped. At least I hope so. Or
At
maybe,
this point
maybe
in
I
the
hope they
season,
don't.
out of all the teams the Huskers have played up to this point in the season, I would have to agree with Chazzy that this is going to be the best team out of the four that they faced. What, do you think UTEP is going to have a great year? Colorado?
I think Colorado would beat Illinois, because I think Baylor would beat Illinois, because I think Illinois sucks ass. That's right, Scoopers. Illinois is a terrible team. This is a terrible loss. There's really nothing good to say about this. Like, Del Reyla had some good throws here and there, but at the end of the day, even if you hit the throw like Chazzy talked about, you escaped it with a win, it's still a crap-ass game because you let Illinois score 24 points in regulation, and that's awful for this supposed great defense, because I promise you this, Illinois ain't scoring that much against half the freaking conference. So these guys got to figure it out at this point, because Illinois was doing whatever they wanted. They'd toss a pass wide open. They'd run the ball. Nobody would touch him. You could drive a freaking truck through some of the holes their offensive line was creating.
So we're talking about three. We want to talk about Illinois' 3 major touchdowns right here. All three of them ran across the face of Hartzog, and he left them wide open in the end zone. And then
one of them was an offensive tackle. How are you not going to guard an offensive tackle?
He has to report that he's eligible. You have to have a guy on the offensive tackle that comes out and reports, I'm eligible. Guess what? 95% of the plays when a guy reports as eligible, the ball goes to him.
See, I would agree with you. Yes, it's not really hidden play, but it's a lose-lose situation for that linebacker every time if you have the right quarterback. The second that guy steps up, which is exactly what happened, quarterback rolls out. And when you have a quarterback like Altmaier, who has been running the football all over us, he rolls out. He looks like he's going to tuck it and run. The moment he stepped forward, he's like, I'm going to throw it to the fat chubby guy because he's sitting wide open because the only guy who was supposed to guard him thought I was going to run when they're that close to the goal line. It's a win every time.
The moment you have a quarterback like Altmaier and you go into a game, you should lose.
See, I think you got to look back to, like I said, the last 3 possessions were terrible. Defense, as much as they gave up points and yardage there, got some takeaways. I think you guys are being tough on them. The defense isn't going to be that great at stopping the run in a 3-3-5. That's just realistic. You don't have enough big guys on the field to stop an offensive line. That's a mistake of this defense, and everybody knows it. But when you sit here and look at the way that the offense played in the fourth quarter and overtime, that's atrocious. The loss is on the offense. And let's be real here. I'm putting a lot of the blame on Matt Rule for even sending out, what's his name? John Hull, our backup kicker, to try a field goal at the end of regulation. Are you freaking kidding me? Ed Foley, our special teams coordinator, is a joke at this point. If we come out and miss another field goal, Ed Foley is done. You cut him right there against Purdue. If you miss a field goal, an extra point, if you give up a punt return for more than like 5 yards, if you give up a kick return that takes him to the other half of the field, he's done. You give him his walking papers. You tell him, get the hell out of town. You leave him at the airport. We're in West Lafayette. You know what, Ed? I think you deserve to stay here in Purdue. Stay in West Lafayette for a couple extra days, because that's embarrassing. Special teams has been the weakest point of this team again. And that's why we have a special teams coordinator. The fact that they brought in Brett freaking Maher to try and help the kickers now is a joke. I get that he's been around the team all season right now, but the fact that they made a point to say he's working with kickers is a joke. Brett Maher is not a fantastic kicker by any means, but he got the job done because he knows how to kick the damn ball. And nobody on this team knows how to do it. Alvano's got the yips right now, and he's nursing a calf injury or whatever they're saying. And John Hall's a guy who was out here who hit freaking 50-yard field goals. JSul, you shared the video. He was out here kicking 50-yard field goals at a kicking camp.
60.
And you miss, I don't even care what it was. You miss a 30-yard field goal to give your team the lead? That's a joke. That's embarrassing.
No, JSul, Brett Maher is a good kicker, as he did play in the NFL and had a very long career. I do want to say they brought him in early in the week, probably because we won't be seeing him on the sidelines. Because guess what? John Hall's jersey is getting upsized. Listen, we are going to have Brett Maher in disguise. John Hall's going to be the best kicker coming out of college football pretty soon. And it's really going to be just a face. He's a face because Brett Maher's under that helmet. Secondly, I want to say it was 100% the defense. The defense gave up 21 points. And guess what? It comes down to the 3 huge penalties, 3 15-yard penalties. 3. Yes, I was going to get to the freaking overtime if you would let me get there, JSul. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I can read. I know how to read.
3
15-yard
21
penalties
is
to set up
28.
3 15-yard penalties. What do you say?
You said the defense gave up 21 points. JSul corrected you to 31, and you said, I'll get to overtime in a minute. 21 plus 7 would take you to 28.
Which means they kicked a field goal. So they did kick a field goal in there, and I wasn't even going to bring that up because that doesn't matter. Guess what?
I'm
the defense got to stop and forced
right.
a field goal. The defense forced a field goal. What, do you want a round of applause for that there, JSul? Listen, the defense gave up. They had 3 huge penalties that were 15-yarders for unnecessary roughness. That is just undisciplined there on this defense. I thought these were supposed to be, upperclassmen and people that have been around the program before. Guess what? If this is going to be what Matt Rule program looks like, it looks a lot like a Scott Frost or a Mike Riley. But let me get to the overtime
JSul,
now.
hold on, because you brought up a good point.
It took Illinois two plays to
how
score
many
a
of these
touchdown in
guys?
overtime.
How many guys on this defense were actually recruited by Matt Rule? Versus how many that are starting were recruited by none other than Scott Frost? Because there are a lot of Scott Frost guys on this defense still. And I get
is it a Scott Frost program or is it a Matt Rule program?
If you have guys that are
used, is this loss
on
Scott Frost or is this loss on Matt Rule?
You know what? I'll blame the rest of the losses on Scott Frost. We are
Scott Frost is
from
3-1. Scott Frost is 3-1 this year. Then
nope, he gets credit for the losses because he's the one who recruited a bunch of losers.
So Matt Rule recruited guys. Matt Rule recruited Alvano. So you're telling me Matt Rule doesn't know how to recruit a kicker?
Well, listen, at a certain point, I don't want you to recruit a kicker. I take that freaking phase out of the game.
What do you mean? We've lost an astounding amount of games here by 1 score, So it comes down to a field goal kicker. Guess what? We could have won this game against Illinois if we had a field goal kicker.
Hold on. Do you want to know how you could have won this game?
I'm not sold we would have won if we made a field goal.
No, if you hit the goddamn wide open wide receiver running down the field in the end zone instead of missing it and then having to settle for an attempt that you miss from 33 yards out with a backup kicker. That's
you're
also not blaming
No, you're going to leave every single game onto a freshman quarterback where he's throwing a pass to a tight end he probably doesn't work with because we're talking about a 3rd-string tight end. I would rather have Carter Nelson, who's not even working with the tight ends anymore, out there. We're talking about a 3rd-string tight end, and you're blaming the quarterback. You're going out there, you're blaming a freshman quarterback.
I'm telling you, it's on the personnel decision and why you had him out there. There's no reason that is the guy running that route at that point. If you had Fedoni, Orkacher, hell, Carter Nelson, you could have had Malachi Coleman, you could have had Jalen Lloyd, you could have picked anybody out of this deep specialist group, and you picked Luke Lindenmeyer.
Agreed. But I also do want to state that the offensive line didn't really give him time in the pocket on that play either.
Gave him enough time to get the ball right there.
Timeout. He had more than enough time to get rid of that ball, and he chose not to set his feet, and he had the wind at his back. That's why he overthrew that pass.
No, he threw it right on the money where every other wide receiver would have been, except Luke Lindenmeyer's 3 steps
And the difference
slower.
is you're not throwing to a wide receiver, and if you're throwing to a wide receiver, there would have been someone faster covering that guy.
Okay, sorry.
It was a play action pass to a guy no one's heard of, which is why he was that open. That's why you didn't have Fedoni in the game. That's why you didn't have all these other people in the game.
Tight ends in. They are 2.5 steps faster than him, which is right where that ball was.
But they wouldn't have fallen for the run as hard as what I'm saying. That's why you throw it to a big guy. That's why you throw it to a guy no one ever sees run a route, because you're like, oh, he's just cutting across the field for an extra block on the dive that they faked and then threw him the pass. If that was Fedoni, he would have 2 guys on him like he did the rest of the game.
But I do want to bring up, if this is really, you know what your state is with the kickers at this point. You know your top guy isn't playing.
I would have ran
your
2
backup
running
is not
plays instead of trying to kick the field goal.
Why is that the play you
we
come out
couldn't
with?
get
Then
past the line of scrimmage. We wouldn't have picked up a first down run on the ball.
it would have been 4th down and 3. Obviously, they weren't going to go for it.
And then you would have ran it again, got stopped, and turned it over.
So at that point, that was the play, was to throw that pass pattern. If it didn't work out, they were going to kick a field goal.
That was the right play. You just missed him. It happened.
I would have went for
that was the right play. It was wide freaking open.
He was wide open.
I would like you to know as well that coming into overtime, Illinois' first play out of overtime, the 22-yard run starting from the 25 was complete BS. That's 100% on the defense. Nebraska's first play was a deep pass down the middle of the field. Guy would have been wide open, but we false started. When you look at the mismatch that they had there, that was an easy 15 yards.
So now you do want to blame the offensive line.
I told you from the get-go I was blaming the offensive line. Where the hell were you? I said they gave up 5 freaking sacks to Illinois.
Time out.
Illinois doesn't have an NFL player on their front 7 in this game. Their best
Illinois might not have an NFL player on their entire roster.
I will.
Is what I'm getting at. They're not a top 25 program. They're not. They're not going to be ranked after this week.
Watching the game, if you go back, Illinois' corner, Xavier Scott, number 14, I will tell you right now, that corner was the best tackler I've seen in space at a corner.
So maybe he can play in the Canadian
years.
League then. No, they don't have NFL talent on their roster, is what I'm getting at.
You're right.
That was not a good team. That was not a good team. That was an awful team.
They didn't have a corner drafted in the NFL first round 2 years ago.
So what does that mean?
So they're definitely not getting that again.
So does that mean all our teams go into the XFL when it gets rejuvenated?
Maybe it's the USFL.
Because we were talking about big 5-star Ty Robinson finally filling his potential. I mean, where the hell was that guy? Did he even suit up out there? Because he played like our buddy, Mr. 1-star, and he might have been no star.
He didn't even play like 1-star.
When you play a 3-man front against Illinois, let me tell you, Polar Bear and Ty Robinson are both getting double teamed because you trust whoever the one left blocker is to go one-on-one with the only other schmuck on our D-line. Yeah, then come talk to me. That's why those guys were unheard of. They both got double teamed the entire game.
Then that's on the coach at that point because you got to figure that out. Because
Nebraska's
defense makes its money at the line of scrimmage, which is where good defense make their money. And those guys couldn't get off a block to save their life. There was 1 sack the entire game. And I'll tell you what, Scoopers, that was the only play where we actually had pressure on Altmaier. Guy had all day to throw. People were wide open the entire game. It was awful. I look at this, and you guys are sitting here trying to blame the offensive line. I'm telling you this, the offensive line is who we thought they were, and they're not that good, all right? But you're telling me my offense scored 24 points against Illinois? That should be enough to beat those guys 20 out of 20 times. Illinois is not an offensive juggernaut. I don't know what the hell JSul is talking about over there. Illinois doesn't have a good offense, period. 24 points should beat them 100% of the time.
When did I ever say they're a juggernaut? I said our defense was bad because they couldn't get a stop on the field. I never said that their offense was a juggernaut. I said Luke Altmaier doesn't even deserve to be on a field. He reminds me of the quarterback that was for Wisconsin who always could, Graham Mertz, who could figure out to pick up a win. I mean,
shout out Graham Mertz, starter at Florida.
Which is surprising in itself.
And that's why they suck.
Exactly. However, looking at this game, the Huskers are going to have a long road going forward because this defense really couldn't get a stop. And we got lucky because I think Illinois would have put up another score if John Bullock didn't get a strip on a deep completed pass.
Now, I think there's another thing here to mention as well. The turning point in the second half of this game was when Illinois picked up that first down on the 4th down attempt when it was clearly stopped short. But then MJ Sherman got tagged with a 15-yard personal foul. You just gave them an extra set of downs. You gave them an extra 15 yards when they didn't pick it up. That should have been reviewed, but because of the personal foul, we got screwed on that. That was the turning point in the second half that cost Nebraska the game. Let Illinois go down, get to 24 points, and then it was all downhill from there. Nebraska lost all momentum. It was on the shoulders of a freshman quarterback who the last 3 drives after that looked like a freshman quarterback.
because of the offensive line not giving him time. But we do also have to bring
Defensive
up
line.
we do also have to bring up the touchdown completed, called on the field, a touchdown that they overturned. If you have your hands on the ball, a foot in the end zone, as soon as you cross the plane, it's a touchdown. Once you have possession, you don't have to control it till you get to the locker room. I don't know where they came up with this decision to overturn it. And then, if anything, it should have been an incomplete pass, not an interception, especially when the tie goes to the runner is the name of the game. So guess what? The tie would go to the offensive player who had the ball, possessed it in the end zone, foot down. That's a touchdown every day of the week.
Now, JSul, I had a different view of this than you guys, and I can tell you right now that they made the right call on the field.
Your views sucked.
I don't buy it.
When you look at it and you read the rule, if you catch the ball going into the end zone,
everyone, just so you know,
head to the ground,
hit the under on this game, so he's incentivized to say that there wasn't another score.
No, I did not. And so when you look at this, when he was going down to the ground, he goes to bring the ball in as he's going to make the football move to tuck it, which if he had gotten it to he did not. The corner swatted and the ball comes loose in his arms. And at that point, you lose it in the video to see if it ever hits the ground as they continue towards the ground. I was told that the official at the stadium said that the receiver did not maintain possession. The ball hit the ground, therefore it's an interception. If the ball hit the ground, it's an incomplete pass. So that official, if that was his ruling, shame on him. It should have been ruled incomplete. The fact of the matter is, from the replay that I could see from home on the couch, he did not maintain possession after the ball was officially being brought in. It was loose. There was a tangle on the ball. The Illinois guy came up with it. That's what happened on that play.
Well, that was just a terrible take there. You clearly got to fix your TV and get a flat screen there, JSul, to get a better picture. Yeah, I don't know what you're working with there over there. Big tube TV, and you can't really see a lot of pixels because guess what? That's exactly what these refs were working with. That was a touchdown 9 out of 9 times, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 11. Every day of the week, I don't care. That's a touchdown. You got the ball in the end zone, control the ball, touchdown.
Well,
and JSul, we could just rip on the officials a lot more than that. I mean, we're talking about the phantom interception. We're talking about the no call hit out of bounds that would have gave us an automatic first down in overtime. Oh, yeah. We're not even going to mention that. The guy just freaking took out our guy out of bounds. We're not going to talk about the phantom hold when the guy just played good defense, dove, knocked the ball away. The phantom plays. Nebraska was getting called for everything. Illinois played a whole game without holding.
You
wow.
forgot the
Those guys,
forgot
you know what?
taunt.
I'm sorry. Those guys actually might have an NFL future. You're telling me Illinois offensive line didn't hold the entire game? That's incredible. Hats off to those guys.
You also forgot about Jamal Banks getting held in the end zone on our second drive, I believe, that ended up with a field goal on it because we couldn't push it in. However, we should have ran the ball at that point, but there was a clear pass interference ball going to him. He couldn't even get his arms out to catch the ball. It was on the big screen at the game. Everyone saw it, and it was just an atrocious call. Every single flag in this game came from the same exact ref, and he decided not to throw them when they were just in front of his face against Illinois. I mean, this was an atrocious game. It led to the field goal, which, could have led to, the Huskers at 28 points, 28-24, game over.
Yeah, I think the other side here is you also forgot the taunt after the missed field goal on the last possession Nebraska had, or not the last possession, but the last real possession they had in regulation. The missed field goal, and the Illini guy gets in his face and starts wagging his finger and making a scene. That's a taunt. That right there is a taunt. That's definition of it. And there was no reason that wasn't called. That was blatant, and that was missed. The hit out of bounds, blatant, right in front of the official, and missed. I don't care if he didn't take him down. He was out. The play was over, came over and hit him. How do you hold the flag there? That is a bonehead play by the Illinois player that he got away with because the officials swallowed their flag because Nebraska still is the most hated team in the Big Ten.
I can agree with that. And we never saw the refs hold the flag when it was Nebraska doing that.
All right. Well, Chazzy's saying we're throwing a challenge flag everywhere because the refs won't do it. But I ain't going to sit here and just keep reaming these people that arguably, yes, did they call a shitty game? Yeah, we all saw that. Did we still have an opportunity to win that game, even though all odds were against us by the refs? Sure. But I'm not going to say
We absolutely had a chance. But again,
blame
it's
the
hard
refs
to
on
win.
plays that they miss in every college game. It's
It-
not like this is just Nebraska's problem. This is every college team.
No, but this was exemplified here. It was very much apparent that it was 11 on 17 every play Nebraska was on the field.
And the
I don't
question,
disagree
Chazzy,
with
for
you,
you
but
then.
it happens to people all the time.
Chazzy, I got a question for you then. If Nebraska was Michigan in overtime, 3rd and 42, they hit the guy out of bounds like that. Do you think Michigan gets that flag? Do you think
10 out of 10
if
out
Michigan
of 10
is
times.
Nebraska?
Doesn't matter. Could be fucking Northwestern. 10 out of 10 times Michigan gets the flag.
Well, let's just be honest. If Nebraska is Michigan, they don't need the refs because this game would have been that close.
Okay, in a vacuum here, and you're looking at it. Game is tied going into overtime. Michigan versus I don't care who, anybody. They get the flag 10 out of 10 times. Michigan State, 10 out of 10 times. Any of the originals, 10 out of 10 times. Penn State will not get it 10 out of 10 times. Nebraska never will. Then you're going to go down to the new 4? Absolutely not. I guarantee you, when Ohio State plays Oregon, Ohio State's going to hit Dylan Gabriel 3 times out of bounds, real late. It's going to be blatant, and they're going to hold their flag and they're going to say, "Welcome to the Big Ten, you freaking green giants."
You could keep claiming the whole, we're one of the newer members of the team, but I think you have somehow dwindled it out of your memory that this is the same shit we had when we were in the Big 12 playing Texas. And so
I don't want to hear that.
Why
nonsense.
does it
I
even
know
matter
it
if you're going to claim, one of the originals? Ooh, no. Nebraska's going to get bent over by every ref, no matter which conference we're in. So let's move on from the refs, or why don't we just get better and take the refs out of the picture? How about that?
I agree with you on
Let's
that.
So Chazzy is playing his players to take referees out.
Damn straight. You gotta play like longest yard. You gotta, take matters into your own hand here. You gotta call a fair game now.
I'm not saying if you do a crossing route and the two guys just coincidentally happen to run right next to the ref and knock a guy over, he should have been standing there. But I'm not saying we go out of our way to purposely do it. I wouldn't say that. That's just wrong.
Take him out at the knees. You heard it here first from Chazzy.
Because you know why? Because the next person that's walking out of that tunnel is definitely not helping us any more than the guy that's dead on the ground.
Yeah, that's what you heard. JSul just passed his refereeing exam. I got your back.
Yeah, until they do the background check, he'll never ref a Big Ten game nor a Nebraska game.
That's what you think. They don't know he is a Nebraska fan with picking a 6-6 record on this schedule. They think he's a Northwestern fan.
No, they'd go, "Holy crap, he is a Nebraska fan." But
because we're all still living in the 90s.
The person who's making this loss the worst is the person who picked it.
Why, Chazzy? Why would I come out here and be upset? Because even though I picked Illinois to win, because 6-6 is all I am asking for. Is that the ceiling for the Huskers? I certainly didn't think so at the beginning of the year, but that is all I am asking for, to go bowling, to get the extra practices for these young players, especially Dylan Raiola, because the ceiling is super high. But unfortunately, we go out there and lose to a mediocre Illinois team. Yeah, you guys can all come out here and say, "Oh, they're ranked, yada, yada. They're 4-0. They've beaten one team that's above 500, or one team with a winning record. That's the Huskers. The only other team they've beaten that has a 500 is an FCS school in Central Michigan that they beat, or sorry, they might be in the MAC. Who the hell cares? That's the only other team that they've played that's 500. They beat a ranked Kansas, overranked, I would tell you, just like this Illinois team is, as Kansas is now 1-3. This is a team that the Huskers, if they really wanted to be a contender or show that they did improve, should have beaten.
Yeah, Jay, so when you look at the Illini schedule coming up, I mean, they're definitely losing 3 out of 4. You're talking about they're going on the road to Penn State. Then they got Purdue coming into home. They probably beat Purdue because they suck. So I'm kind of on your bandwagon. I think Purdue is the worst Big Ten team out there. Now, I'll tell you that Minnesota might have the worst record, or they might match them for the worst record in the Big Ten, but Purdue is definitely the worst team.
Okay.
Luckily, they don't play each other.
I appreciate it, but we're at a point here. I'm so done talking about Minnesota. I don't care. It's been 2 years. Stop talking about PJ Fleck.
You just don't want me to be right.
No.
Calling the worst team in the Big Ten.
Let's just turn the page here.
No, I'm not ready. Hold on. I'm not ready to turn the page here. I'm not done. Illinois then gets Michigan and Oregon. That's 2 more losses right there. Okay? Minnesota after that, they probably beat. Michigan State coming to town, they probably lose. Rutgers on the road, that's an L. Northwestern on the road, that's an L. Illinois is a 6-win squad at best. 7 win if they're lucky. They ain't getting 8 wins. That is not a top 25 team. I'm telling you, 10 out of 10 times, this is a terrible loss. And you lost to Illinois. That sucks. And it's going to be a tough season. You were at home. You had the chance to close it out because now we got how many games left? We got 8 games left. 5 of them are on the road. So now you got to be road dogs because if you have to go winless at home if you're not going to win any road games. So you have to win road games now to get to a bowl game at 6-6. And here's what I'm telling you, Jay. So it's going to be a freaking dogfight.
JSul, do you think who do you think gets the 6 wins first? Us or Illinois?
What came first, the chicken or the egg there, Chazzy? That's a tough one because I'm not even going to sit here and guarantee that the Huskers getting 6-6. Losing to Illinois to me tells me that we still got so many issues and the game was there to close out. We didn't close it out. We got so many issues. It's only going to get harder. Bielema just exposed that our defense can't stop an off-tackle run. Every Big Ten team has that in their playbook. Every single one of them. And every single one of them runs it successfully. Even Purdue. So unless we figure that out, we ain't getting 6 wins. It's going to be a dogfight at this point.
Yeah, I think there's an important thing to mention here. Of everybody we had on come and do picks, the only other person who picked Illinois as a loss was Paul. And Paul went through and he has the Huskers getting to bowl eligible against UCLA when they come to town. At that point, he's got the Huskers with 3 losses as well. And to close out the season, he's got them finishing 3-1. So Paul's got an 8-4 record that's still feasible even with this loss on the schedule.
Well, JSul, here's what I'm going to tell you. I expect a win against Purdue. If you lose to Purdue, you ain't going bowling. I'm just going to say it flat right here and now. If you don't beat Purdue, you ain't going bowling. So this is a must win for the Huskers because when Rutgers comes to town, they play the same way Illinois does, except they're probably a better team, but they're not getting all the hype that Illinois does. They're probably going to be ranked when we see them in October for homecoming. I don't think we win that game. I think they're better at what Illinois wants to be. They're a team that right now you don't want to face because they're a physical team. You're going to be hurting for a week afterwards. Like they're a tough ass team. You might win the game and you're hurting the whole freaking week and up till your next game. And then you play like you're still asleep because you're still hurting from playing Rutgers. That's what they do. That's what Nebraska used to be. And at this point, I just don't see us beating Rutgers at this point. So I'm talking now, we're getting to Indiana might be your make or break for a bowl game.
Now,
and Indiana will probably be ranked when we face them as well.
I'm a little confused at what you just said. So you said we're going to be playing Rutgers. They're going to beat us up. We're going to be sore for Indiana, or we're going to be sore after Purdue for Rutgers.
Sore after Rutgers for Indiana. Purdue should be a no contest. We should
Good
whoop those guys.
Thing there's a bye week in between there, JSul.
We might be hurting after 2 weeks with the way Rutgers plays, JSul.
Yeah, I'm not worried. It's Rutgers. It's Rutgers. I'm not worried about it.
I just like to point out that I believe all our picks are still out there. We just now need to swing one other game. The only one who's really sweating in their seat right now is B-Schneid. Right? Because that means we're going undefeated the rest of the year. So, B-Schneid, was nice seeing you, meeting you, but I think your picks are going to be trash. All right? Just saying that right now. I hope you prove me wrong. I would love to go 11-1.
Chazzy, what did you pick again?
9-3. It's been that way for like the last 6 years.
Yeah, your picks might be trash there, Chazzy.
Hey, We just got to swing a coin flip game.
What are your coin flip games out here?
Well, basically every game that isn't USC or Ohio State. Those would be my only 2 remaining losses if we could still go 9-3.
So you're saying a coin flip that we beat Ohio State, or every game that we play is a coin flip?
No, the only other games that I think I had us losing. Well, there could only be one. There's only one other game. If I had us 9-3, and the other 2 losses are Ohio State and USC,
I think you picked Wisconsin as a loss.
Yeah, I think so. So we'd have to beat Wisconsin.
I don't see that happening, especially if you can't beat Illinois. I think that this schedule is a sham. I did pick that as a loss, but again, all I was doing was asking for 6 wins. And the way this team lost to Illinois just really hurt me. I thought, our offense wasn't even going to be able to put up 24. I thought our defense would be able to get stops if we were going to lose. Our defense couldn't even get a stop against Illinois. This team is atrocious in Illinois, and it really just proved that this defense is a sham.
Well, let's just move on from Illinois already. Kind of done talking about it. Listen, it's in the past. Team's got to turn the page. I want you guys to turn back a little bit here. I want to know what surprised you the most in week 4 around college football.
Well, JSul, since you asked go for it there, Chazzy.
BYU, all right? Nobody picking BYU to beat Kansas State. I can tell you. Nobody. And they didn't just beat them. They whooped their ass.
Jazzy's only saying that. He had him in the playoffs, folks.
On the road. Yeah, and I'm very disappointed that that's what K-State's doing in front of their home crowd. They deserve better. But do you see K-State fans going,
no.
Do you think K-State fans are going, oh, God, our season's over because we lost to a random BYU team like you guys have been going about us losing to Illinois? Hell no. They're doing exactly what Chazzy's doing. We have a guaranteed spot as long as we win the Big 12, and that's still possible.
Now, Chazzy, I am going to stop you right there. Kansas State was on the road in front of a bunch of Mormons at BYU.
Pretty sure K-State was at home.
K-State was on the road in good old Utah.
Well, you and your fact checking could go, just buzz right off. Either way, they shouldn't have lost that game. All right?
I totally agree. You're talking this is a top 13 team in the country. I don't think so. That's why they dropped out. But it boosts BYU into being ranked. BYU gets one of these wins every single year, and they will drop out as soon as it follows. They will get, and the BYU will probably end the year 8-4. But you want to get into my biggest shock of the week? Mizzou taking down Vanderbilt at home. 30-27. This is Vandy.
Double overtime.
This is Vanderbilt in double OT. Thank you there, T-Cell. This is an atrocious win. Mizzou should drop in the rankings. We're not even talking top 10. We're not even talking top 15. They should be lucky to be in the top 25. This is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is an atrocious team. Vanderbilt should never, they don't even compete in the SEC. Vanderbilt is 2-2 on the year. This was a terrible game from Missouri, and it really showed how overrated they are and the SEC bias that exists.
Well, JSul, I tried to tell you that at the beginning of the season, and then again last week when frickin' Missouri barely got past Boston College at home, and I told you that was awful. Missouri's not going to be ranked at the end of the season. They're going to have several losses. They're not a top 25 team. They're definitely not a playoff team. Missouri's got to kick all those hopes out the window because they ain't crap as far as I'm concerned. Missouri ain't crap. And I mean, it looks like their schedule is favorable, and I think that's why you guys picked them to do that, but they're going to lose some questionable games because at the end of the day, they ain't a top 10 program. But my surprise of the day or the week is how USC lost to Michigan, which isn't that much of a shock because I don't buy how good USC is. But then the fact that the rankings come out, USC drops 1 spot after losing to Michigan. Michigan all of a sudden moves up freaking 8 spots and is sitting at 11. USC drops to number 12, and they got LSU at like 13 or some crap like that. Guys, these are 3 terrible teams. 3 teams, if they go to the playoffs, they're getting smoked. These are not top 12 teams. super bias playing in effect right here. I'm telling you this right now. Michigan win is good enough to push them into the rankings. But Michigan should be like 20. USC should be like 24. LSU should be unranked at this point. LSU is not a top 25 team. They should not be ranked. Just like Notre Dame. Notre Dame should not be ranked. This is ridiculous that they're sitting at, I don't even know what they are, but they were 17 last week, is an embarrassment to college football.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong there, JSul. I think the way that they're ranking teams right now is a little crazy. Nobody's taking into account how the teams look or what they've done, which is stupid at this point. But again, none of these rankings that they're putting out right now mean a damn until the college football playoff ones come out. My biggest shock of the week, and it hits home because we just broke it down, is the Friday night matchups. I'm sorry, all three of them, garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Friday night football for college needs to be thrown out the goddamn window. This was embarrassing. You had a Nebraska-Illinois matchup that went to overtime, shouldn't have gone to overtime, shouldn't have been close. Nebraska should have won. You had Syracuse taking on Stanford, flying halfway around the country on a goddamn short week, and Stanford upset Syracuse? Are you freaking kidding me? That was embarrassing on Syracuse, all accounts. Syracuse looked like the better team and just couldn't score because, again, Friday night football is stupid. And then you've got Washington State against San Jose State, and they win in double overtime. What a goddamn joke. Friday night football out the window, out the goddamn window. I'm done with it. College football needs to move on from it. They need to realize that they can play on Saturdays. That is, Saturdays is for college. Friday is for high school. When kids can play close games like this, can play shit games like this, there's no reason that 3 games, 2 went to overtime. That's bullshit.
Well, let me tell you something here, JSul. They actually probably like that because the ratings actually probably went up. But I do want to say,
who's turning in for San Jose State, Washington State?
Not JSul, because he has Washington State in the playoff.
Nobody in the state of Washington or California is tuning into that game.
Undefeated, baby. Undefeated. Still undefeated. Washington State is going to be making the college football playoff, unlike a year pick in Syracuse. And that is why you were a little butthurt coming off of Friday after the Huskers got beat. Let me tell you something. Washington State making that game interesting and just getting the win at the end. That is what playoff teams do. They persevere through anything.
Hey, JSul.
Nebraska had the leading passer. Syracuse had the leading passer in their game. Washington State had the leading passer in the game. If your quarterback outgains the other team, you should win a game in college football 10 out of 10 times.
Agreed. What I was going to say was, JSul, the biggest difference here is Syracuse doesn't even have to go undefeated to get in, whereas Washington State has to. But Syracuse will not beat Miami, so that
they won't even beat North Carolina.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're not winning that. They're not winning their conference. But I was just making the point. Washington State.
JSul, you're talking to North Carolina team that gave up 70 points to James Madison.
It doesn't count conference. They knew it didn't count for conference. It doesn't count against their playoff.
You gave up 70 points to a team the second year they're in FBS.
The rumor on the street is that Connor Stallions has been working with James Madison. So that's the rumor mill.
To be fair, they got 28 points there off of turnovers. Not giving them out, but I do want to say there, Chazzy.
28.
While Washington State does need to go undefeated, you better believe they're going undefeated, and they are making the playoffs.
I hope they go undefeated and get fucked like Florida State did last year.
They are going to be. Are they considered a group of 5 now?
No.
They are.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they're a group of 5 team. They're not in an actual conference.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you guys. North Carolina threw 2 picks and lost 3 fumbles. That's why they lost the game. They're going to fix that come their ACC
they're
play.
Not in the group of 5 because Notre Dame's not in the group of 5.
Oh.
That's why it's stupid. That's why all of us sitting here saying, "Oh, they're not a top 12 team." Well, it's bullshit because they're not going to take the top 12 teams.
That's what it should be.
I 1,000% agree with you, but that's not how it's slated to go. That's what's stupid about it.
Well, enough on trying to predict the college football playoffs here.
But
We know JSul's
it
pick of
also has to
Washington
come.
State doesn't
It,
matter.
it also has to come down to all these rankings we're seeing right now are garbage anyways. The AP, the coaches, everything about it is garbage because it comes down to what a group of 12 people in a dark, closed door, locked door room decide the teams are in the rankings.
And JSul, I'm going to disagree with you that all the rankings are garbage right now, except for those Sully scoop rankings. Tune in weekly to get those, folks. The Sullys are picking the best 25 teams weekly there.
And
I think we
Bissell,
gotta-
I do want to come back at you because you said that it's Rutgers, whatever. Rutgers won a road game against Virginia Tech. I don't think Illinois would win that game. I'm telling you, I look at our schedule. I think the only teams that Illinois would for sure beat are the only
Wait,
teams that we would for sure
hold
beat.
on.
And UCLA and Purdue.
You're pointing out that they beat Virginia Tech, and I'm pretty sure Virginia Tech lost to Vandy.
Yeah, T-Saw, I don't think that was the bragging point you really wanted to go with.
Well, he tried to make it one, but it definitely wasn't. But let's turn the page.
Virginia Tech was on the road at Vanderbilt. Rutgers was on the road at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, nobody cares about Virginia Tech here. The Hokies don't even care about Virginia
Clearly
Tech anymore.
they suck.
Virginia Tech beat Marshall 31-14. Just remember that, Bissell.
You beat Marshall.
Ohio State beat them 49-14, so they're only 10 points worse than Ohio State.
Yep, you could go ahead and tell Ohio State that they're only 10 points better than Virginia Tech. And let's see that opening line of a game that they're playing there, Tietzel. But let's get to the breakdown of Nebraska versus Purdue. Anything you guys are looking out for in this game?
Defensive line. What star Robinson is going to show up? Is it going to be 1-star tie, 2-star tie, 4-star tie? What tie is showing up to this game? Because if he plays like he did last week, I'm benching him. I'm pulling him. You can't go out there and play 60 minutes and make 2 tackles and assist on a third. That's not what we play you for at the defensive line. I'm pulling him at that point. You're out of here next.
Yeah, I think this is one that Devin Mockabee could come out here and reach the goal at T-Cells there. 12 or 15 touchdowns, whatever it was, based on the way our defensive line has been doing. I think we need to see Dowdell take over here and see if the offensive line can actually move a defensive front there in the Big Ten. And I'm not really sure that they're going to be able to do it. And this is a weak Big Ten team in Purdue. But I want to see if the Huskers are going to be able to keep Purdue under 20 points here in this game. I mean, they set the over-under at 47.5, and they set the Huskers at a 9.5-point favorite. Do I think this should be a 9.5-point favorite? Well, we saw them as a 9.5-point favorite last week, and it did not turn out too well. Do I want to take the Huskers with the points? Absolutely not. I think you live bet this one if you're going to do it at all. Otherwise, you take Purdue with the points. I know Purdue has been getting beat down, but the Huskers defense is not going to be able to stop a nosebleed, and it'll be interesting if the offense could get points on the board here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to.
Here you go.
I was going to just say, I think it's definitely going to be the front seven here. Purdue's not going to come out. Listen, Hudson Carr, they can keep talking that he's a passing quarterback and all of that. I'm not buying that crap. Nobody's buying Hudson Carr's stock. Listen, you're sitting here, all the Purdue running backs, their top 3, and really it's a top 2-headed monster here. Devin Mockabee's averaging almost 8 yards a carry. Love's averaging just over 6 yards a carry. Both guys are explosive. They're getting yardage after each run. And then they've got a kid named Jackson who's run the ball 3 times and got 83 yards. Big playability there. Purdue is going to be one in the trenches, and it's really going to come down to A, can Nebraska keep Purdue off the field by winning time of possession? And B, can they turn around and actually stop the run this week?
Wow, yeah. Bissell, did I just hear you give props to Devin Mockabee? What is going on right now?
Well, just to piggyback off what Bissell said, I do think it's going to be our front seven. Defensively, if, depending on, I don't really care what star Ty shows up, because if he's taken on 2 offensive linemen, that's a win in my eyes, because that's, same with Nash. If they're both getting double teamed the whole game, I really want to see our linebackers fill those holes a lot better than they have been, because there's no excuse that the next 4 guys can't take on one blocker and maybe a fullback.
And that brings us to the biggest part of the day. What do we have? The score here. What is your guys' score prediction here? Nebraska at Purdue, 11 a.m. on 9/28 here. It's going to be on Peacock.
Well, JSul, before we break that down, let's just talk about where the standings are for the Sullys on total points off. After that debacle in Lincoln for the Illinois game, JSul jumped up from second place in total points off to last. He is now off 84 points in the 4 games so far. JSul follows closely behind, not leading a week yet, but only off 77 points total. And
Only, folks.
And I am in the lead off a total of 53 points total. So JSul, you're going to make it back here. You're going to get some points and gain some ground. How do you see this Purdue game going?
Well, I know the team that we have now, and I know to drop my expectations. I was expecting a blowout of Illinois because that's the quality of who and what Illinois is. I mean, the thing is, the scoopers, they're not even scoopers. They're just idiots. The knuckleheads out there who think that Illinois is a good loss. It's not. We know, us on the Sully Scoop panel, we know who Illinois is. We live in Illinois. We know that nobody gives a rat's ass about Illini football out here. They only care about the Bears. Even when the Bears aren't good, they still don't tune into the Illini. We know what they are. They suck. Terrible loss. So I've dropped my expectations. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Purdue is even worse than Illinois. Yep, I'm saying it on air here. They're awful, but I don't think that we're going to hit that 9.5, especially on the road. I'm picking a Nebraska 27-21 victory. And no, you know what? 27-24. And that 27, you guys are thinking we made 2 field goals? No. We missed an extra point just to throw things even farther in the air. It's 27-24.
That's something I was about to ask you with the 27 there, JSul. And I do have to say, I do agree with you that the Huskers aren't going to get that 9.5 points. I have us coming out on top. I think we're going to get, 3 touchdowns here. I really want to go with my gut here from what I picked at the beginning of the year, but I do have to say I am starting to believe in JSul's prediction on Purdue being the worst team of the year, and I do believe Chazzy was on that same bandwagon there, that Purdue is going to be the worst team in the Big Ten this season. I am starting to buy into that. However, I think the Huskers are able to come out on top here. I think they win 21-17. I think the under hits, and I don't think the Huskers cover the points.
What about you, Chazzy? How do you feel this game's going to go?
Well, sticking with my gut feeling, I still think they're going to be the worst team in the Big Ten, being Purdue. So I think my score that I'm going to release here is going to be not as high as I would have probably predicted at the beginning of the year, but I think that's because our offense has shown that they can kill the clock, whereas we're not just that quick strike team. So I think we're going to put up 34 points, and I think we're going to give up 12. We're only going to give up field goals.
And Chazzy doesn't see Devin Mockabee making it to the end zone.
And Chazzy's also going to be off 84 points at the end of this week, too.
Yeah, after hearing your scores, it looks like all the other guest stars are in first place with no score differentials, since we haven't been included. But seeing your score differentials, I like to think I'd be doing better than 80, whatever the hell you had.
Now, Chazzy, I will say in the last week we had you on picking against Colorado. You had the worst score differential out of the entire panel, picking a 42-27 win, and the Huskers won 28-10.
I feel like that was pretty close. What was your scores? Mine only sounded like one score off on each side of the ball.
I was the closest. I was final score of 31-21.
And he filled it after the game was over. Just so you know.
So I think what you meant to say is I had the worst score out of the three of you that week, but my score differential overall would still be really good.
Well, that's because you've picked one game.
But what if all my weeks are like that?
Well, if all your weeks are that off, I think you're behind everybody.
What? How are you doing these point totals?
Total, you're off with both teams there. So
And how many points did you have Colorado scoring?
Who, me or Chazzy?
Chazzy.
42.
You had Colorado scoring 42?
Or he had Colorado scoring 27. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, no, I didn't.
Misheard the question. Getting back to the Purdue game, though, I tend to agree with Chazzy. I think the Huskers cover here. I don't think Purdue's a good team. I don't think the Huskers will have trouble with it. I think Devin Maccabee's going to rip off a couple decent-sized runs, but I think Nebraska, after this Illinois game, is going to be hitting practice hard all week. I think the biggest thing that they're going to be focusing on is stopping the run, getting stronger in the trenches. And I think that's going to be the big focus here. I think you're going to see more rotation on the D line next week than you saw this past week. And so I have the Huskers coming out and winning this week. I have them scoring 27 as well, JSul. However, I do have 2 field goals in there. I think we're going to connect on them. I think you're going to see Alvano back out there this week. And I've got the Huskers.
He's already listed as not playing this week there, JSul.
Oh, well, that's fine. Maybe
like I said, it's gonna be Brett Maher in disguise when we see a 50-yarder go through the uprights.
Either way, I think the kicking game is gonna be emphasis here. They're gonna try and build some confidence there against a team that you should win. I've got the Huskers winning 27-10.
Yeah, JSul, I think I'll be
wrong
shocked.
You are.
I will be absolutely shocked if we jog out the kicking unit at all during this game. I think we just scrap that part of the game. We're going for it on 4th down every single time, pulling one out of JSul's book. And guess what? If we really want to come down to it and we don't want to go for it, we'll just punt. I don't care if we're at their 30. I don't care if we're at their 10. We'll punt the ball. Because guess what? Our kickers can't make it if it was the entire end zone width.
You're at a game here that is extremely winnable, whether you trot out the field goal unit or not. You're going to give them some practice during games here to build some confidence, because there is going to be a game later on down the road that you may need them, whether that's Rutgers, whether that's Ohio State.
We already needed them.
Yeah. JSul, we don't want them. Listen, that led to a loss, and we don't want them again. If it comes down to it, we're putting our best player on the field, which is Dylan Raiola, and we're going to see what happens. Guess what? Hopefully the offensive line can block somebody, because I surely think that they have a better chance of blocking somebody that our kicker doesn't put one through the uprights.
Now, Scoopers, I just want you to know that JSul does not speak for JSul over here. I'm still jogging out the kicking unit and stuff. I'm not pulling what he's pulling. If it's 4th and 1, I'm going for it all day long. I'll tell you that. I don't care if we go for 2. I'll go for 2. I don't give a crap about that either. But the point is, when we jogged out the field goal unit on 4th and 3, that was the right call, because a 39-yarder should be a gimme. And the guy's got to make that at the end of the day. That was the right call. 100%. Right call. 3rd down play, right call. The guy was wide freaking open in the end zone. That's a touchdown if Raiola hits him. And I'm not faulting Raiola, because the guy played a great game. We scored 24 points. That should be enough to win all day long against Illinois. So what I'm telling you right now, field goal was the right call. 3rd down call was the right call. They just didn't work out in our favor on those 2 plays.
So you got Xfinity on the TV, you got Hulu on there, you're watching it live. You can rewind the game now, JSul, and you can go back. You just watch the outcome and you can go back. What's your call now? Now that you've seen what the kicking unit can do, if it comes down to it, it's a 39-yarder to beat Purdue, or we're going to overtime.
I'm kicking it again.
Or that's not even
kicking it again.
Argument. That's like watching the lottery and then playing it back and going, I'm going to pick these numbers for tomorrow's win.
I'm saying, all right, whatever. We see it.
He's saying like same scenario, but against Purdue. Are you kicking it at 4th and 3 at the 35-yard line? And the answer is yes, I am, JSul, because that's the right call.
No.
As soon as you change it, you lost.
I'm kicking that field goal.
Kicking it every time. kicking it every time.
I'm not kicking it. Guess what? We did that with Connor Cole.
Then you'll lose a different way.
We
Did you not watch
best.
Mike Riley and Scott Frost do that their entire tenures? They changed it. They'd lose a 3-score game, and then the next game completely changed their whole mindset.
We're going to be the best 4-8 team because we're definitely not losing to Purdue.
Do you want to be the best 3-9 team in the history again there, T-Cell? Because guess what? That is what we relied on that year, was a kicker that we didn't have and that couldn't make the easy.
That was a different story. Until this guy shows. I mean, we've made field goals this year, JSul. It's not like we haven't made field goals. Connor Cope was a whole different story. And also to add on, we didn't even have a punter because we didn't even have a special teams coach. Yeah. I wouldn't have jogged out any kickers or punters that season.
I would go as far as I would love to watch JSul do the one chance kick with Pat McAfee in his face and see if he can make that kick.
So, T-Cell, I do want to let you know that we're 66% on field goals this year.
That tells me I have a 66% chance to win on 4th and 3. Meanwhile, you're going to run the ball, get stuffed at the freaking line, and Illinois is just going to go freaking 15 yards and kick a field goal to beat you. That's what would happen against you.
Sounds like we should cut a piece of that NIL pie off and get someone with a leg that we can trust.
Let me tell you something there, T-Cell. We're 1 of 2 of field goals from 30 to 39 yards.
Same kicker or different kicker?
Different kickers. One is
so they're both 0 so they're both that doesn't even, it's not even fair.
One is 0-1 and one is 1-2 from 30 to 39 yards. Let me tell you something. We're at 20 to 29 yards, aka it's about an extra point.
It's 2024 and we watched Justin Tucker miss a field goal already. All right. Anything can happen this year. I'm putting it back on the kickers because if you go in and you totally get rid of any sort of confidence that he had or had,
what confidence
you'll
did he
never
have?
make a kick again. I'm just saying, if you just don't even trot him out there, that guy, when you actually need him to make that game-winning kick, is never gonna do it. He needs practice. Even if he misses a couple.
Hey, listen, Scoopers. Chazzy also does not speak for T-Saw on this end, okay? If I don't like a kicker and I'm going to hurt his ego, I'm benching his ass, I'm pulling his scholarship, I really don't care at this point. You're a college student. You're getting paid to be here. You got free crap here, whatever. Go make the kick or get the hell out of here at this point. I'm telling you, you kick the ball in that scenario because that is the right call. But JSul, to the point, if it's like Connor Culper, where you get burned twice, you ain't burning T-Saw 3 times. You're off the freaking team at that point.
Also,
I'm not playing this game.
Out that kicking in college, due to the hash marks, is much harder than the pros. And that guy missed, if you remember, he missed that 39-yard field goal short side. Okay?
Well, let me come out here and tell you something there, Chazzy. They are 100% from 20 to 29 yards. There are 3 for 3, and that's with 2 different kickers. I would take me and T-Saw to go out there, and we would be 3 for 3 from 20 to 29 yards. It ain't that hard to make it from there. 39 yards? Yeah, guess what? We're 1 for 3. We're 1
I'll go out there and do it in flip-flops, Chazzy. I'll be out there in flip-flops and make that kick.
We are 1 for 3 on field goals from 30 to 39 yards. Guess what? You can mark it at that 39-yard marker. I can go 1 for 3. You are getting your first Scoopers.
You don't.
Scoopers,
hey, the difference is you don't get 3 chances. You get 1. So am I going to watch you miss twice before you make your first one? Because if it was, you wouldn't be kicking at Nebraska, according to you guys. You missed 1. You're scolded. You're out of here.
No, I said 2. I'm giving them 2.
All right. Well, if he's shooting 1 for 3, he said he could make 1 out of 3. Well, then he's no better than the kickers we have.
Scoopers, here's what we're going to put
exactly my point.
So then why am I getting you on the team? I'm taking the guy that actually knows how to kick.
If I'm 1 for 3 as well, what's the difference? I'm not taking the money, and I am telling you, don't come to me to kick the ball. I'm telling you to go for it. That's the big difference here. And guess what, Scoopers? We're going to have a video here on TikTok pretty soon. We're going to go out there. 30 to 39 yards. JSul, this is me speaking, will be 1 for 3 like the Huskers kickers are. I might be able to go 2 for 3.
You're not in the same element.
You heard it here first. JSul will be going out. He'll be kicking a 39-yard field goal this weekend. He has 3 attempts to make at least one to say that he could be a kicker on the Huskers program. We all know he's going to go 0 for 6 before he gives up. So let's put his money where his mouth is.
Hey,
we are posting all attempts. I don't care if he says he's only taken 3. We know there's going to be 6 warm-up shots because he's going to say, well, they kick into the net. I needed to warm my leg up. Doesn't matter. He could kick the ball 18 times. He's not making a field goal from 39 yards out.
I would love to see JSul do this at the halftime show of the local high school nearby because he wouldn't stand it in front of those fans. Now you think you're going to do it in front of 90,000? Yeah, get out of here.
I don't even think the field goal was from the 29-yard line, but I could make it from the 29-yard line. I believe it was from the 21-yard line, and that is a chip shot. That is a chip shot for JSul here. And let me tell you, I would go 3 for 3 from the 21-yard line. And Matt Rule, if you can hear me, when this video gets posted, me going 3 for 3, my DMs are open, and I do have eligibility.
Now, Chazzy, I got a question for you. If you heard from an outside source that there's somebody interested in coaching and they came out and said that they would never lose to mediocre programs ever again at Nebraska, like Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Minnesota, Maryland. I mean, we can keep going with this. Would you hire him? Would you believe in that coach? If he just said, we're never going to lose to them.
Can we redefine who you just described as mediocre? Because we haven't beat those teams and we've had 3 different coaches.
So you're telling me that you think those are good programs?
No,
they're doing better than we are right now.
Because we're a suck-ass program. We're not mediocre. We're trying to get past mediocre.
You're not setting realistic goals for a team.
It's realistic. It's realistic.
You keep
because
saying
they're mediocre.
You
should be able to look mediocre teams at Nebraska.
We have no proof of consistently beating any one of those teams that you just listed.
Bo Pelini handled all of those guys.
Bo Pelini hasn't been here in how many years?
And that's the issue. He handled the mediocre programs.
I don't agree with it. The guy was 8-4 almost all the time, got you to bowl games, and now we can't even sniff a bowl game.
Now, I think there's an important thing here to notice. JSul named bottom feeder teams as mediocre. They're not mediocre.
Did you notice he didn't name us?
Yeah, no, they are trash teams that he just named there. They're not mediocre teams. You want to talk about the epitome of mediocrity in college football? That is the Iowa Hawkeyes. They are a mediocre football team. They've been mediocre since Kurt Ferentz took over 45 years ago, and nobody cares. That is mediocre football. There's a reason Kurt Ferentz hasn't been fired no matter how many shitty seasons he has, no matter how many good seasons he has, because Iowa doesn't care. It's mediocre. That is why he has been able to hang around that long. If you want to talk about beating, if you want to
Iowa is a good program.
Iowa's a terrible program. I don't want to hear this.
Is a good part of their program.
But they win 8 games every year. That's a good program.
No, Iowa runs the clock out on you so that you run out of time because they know
I wish we knew how to run the freaking clock out. We'd win a ton of games if we figured that out.
No. JSul, Iowa is a mediocre football program. They have been for years. How many national championships you got?
Now you're describing elite programs.
No,
that's an elite program.
Okay.
Iowa's good. They ain't great. They're good.
Okay.
Name how many national championships the Big Ten has. Because that's really what matters.
Let's go off of this. How many Big Ten championships does Iowa have?
Who cares?
If you're saying they're a good team has conference championships.
No, that's a great team. A good team doesn't have to win good championships, so they're just a solid team. They're good. They're not expected to win every game.
Wait a second. Great teams have championships. Is that what we're going with?
Great teams have at least conference championships.
You're darn right they do, and so do juggernauts, and that is the Urban Meyer way.
Hey, no, you take your Urban bullshit and go visit him in Urbanville, because I only pointed it out to you twice this last week that they got a spot for you in the fucking front yard of Urban's new house in Urbanville. That's where he's stashed up.
Yeah. My point is Iowa is a mediocre football team. Minnesota is a terrible football team. They're not mediocre. Wisconsin.
Then you should go debate with this guy, Corey, or whatever the hell his name is, arguing that Minnesota is a fantastic program because they somehow got to 11 wins one season.
Congratulations. Minnesota, how many national championships do you have?
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode as we get ready for the Purdue-Nebraska game at Purdue at 11 o'clock on Peacock on 9/28 this Saturday. Thanks for joining us for the Sully Scoop. You're here with JSul, BSul, and TSul, and joining us this week was Husker Chazzy. Thanks for joining us again, Chazzy. And we did find out you would have the worst picks this year, according to BSul there.
We'll see what my college playoff team outlook looks like compared to the rest of y'all.
Well, BSul already lost Syracuse, but don't forget to follow and like, and you can catch us at Sully_Scoop or find our website, thesullyscoop.com.
Go Big Red.